you guys. Happy hour is from 4 to 6.
Miss Kennedy, would you get me a medium dry vodka martini?
What is
Shaken, not stirred.
I'm not hearing it right. Hold on. We got it now.
Is there alcohol in this?
Oh, God, honey, no. What kind of mother do you think I am? Why do you want a little bit? Because if you're going to drink, I'd rather you do it in the house.
Make it Suntory time.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing this happy Tuesday, happy hour? Today I have a great guest coming on at 5, Tales from the Shelf, and we're going to have a great conversation as always. He's a collector that I had on for a Beau's Afraid panel back in March. I think that film came out. So he's really great, and I'm really excited to have him on. In further news, I did see the film Priscilla this weekend, Sofia Coppola's latest film, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I'm not going to have time to do a review for my channel for that movie. And I'll get into why, because I actually would want to do a different type of video for it. However, I'd like to tell you guys what I thought about it. Are you guys seeing the Marvels this weekend? We're going to talk about that as well. So I'm going to get to the chat for a little bit. Cheers. And hope everyone's doing really, really great today. Hello, Dementian Scott. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, Fritzky. What's up? Been missing hanging with you and Max lately. We have to plan something. Yes, we absolutely should. That'd be really fun. And it's getting closer and closer to award season. So we'll definitely be putting together some panels and stuff as we get closer to that. Hello, Hunter. Thanks for stopping by. Holland Oats. Hey, Tracy, and happy hour to everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, cheers. Cheers. What are you and your boyfriend doing for Thanksgiving? We're probably going to just do dinner with my mom. That's probably what's going to happen. I think Max usually visits his family for Christmas. So we'll be doing Thanksgiving with my mom probably. Hola, 2 cool cats here. Speaking of the devil, that's him, Max. Thanks for stopping by as always. Everyone's saying hi to each other. Heisenberg, hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'm so curious if you guys if you're going to the movies this weekend and what you're going to see. Since Dune 2 is not coming out like it had been planned this past weekend. So traded in a bunch of flicks and games today and got a bunch of store credit. Picked up Beau's Afraid and The Whale on Blu-ray and The Doors, and I don't know what that means, but the last one on vinyl, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, you were on my Beau's Afraid panel as well, so yeah, I really enjoyed that film. And yeah, it was really cool to see with Killers of the Flower Moon. It was definitely heavily influenced by Ari Aster's Beau's Afraid. And, perhaps a little bit of Midsommar as well, especially the end. I don't want to get into the end too much, but if you guys want me to talk about the end and why there's a lot of parallels, in my opinion, of Killers of the Flower Moon and Beau's Afraid, I would love to discuss it. But again, I don't want to do spoilers if you haven't seen Killers of the Flower Moon yet. I feel like it's maybe a safer bet is when that hits streaming, which is on Apple TV Plus. Everyone's saying hi. Oh, okay. Got it. Bitches Brew by Miles Davis. No, that's awesome. I love jazz. I love Miles Davis. So now I totally get what you're saying, and I'm completely on board. I'm going to pause on the chat for a little bit. And I guess what we'll talk about first is the Marvels, and then we'll go into Priscilla. So I'm seeing the Marvels on Saturday. And when I went to get the tickets for my boyfriend and I noticed that no other person was going to be in the theater. And it's a Saturday, it's a Marvel movie. You would think there would be other people in the audience with us. There were not. So we'll see what happens this weekend. But my goodness, I really like, I kind of had a feeling it wasn't going to do the best at the box office. But if it keeps trending this way, I keep asking my friends, like, oh, who else is in your theater? And it's very slim. So that's I think this is, talk about sending a message to Kevin Feige. And you know, I mean, you used to be able to have to get your tickets in advance for a Marvel film like weeks in advance because it'd be sold out. But not the case for the Marvels. Is anyone in the chat going to be seeing it this weekend? I will be seeing it on Saturday, like I said. Um, I obviously don't want wish harm on any film, and I want them to be good and I want them to do well, but I'm very hesitant. And actually, the live stream that I do on Thursdays with Bone Bridger and John will have seen the film actually before we do that. So it's on Thursdays at 11:30 is when they start, and then I kind of go on around 12:30. So it'll be really interesting to hear firsthand from someone that has seen the film. I know the embargo, I think for critics, is released tomorrow, unless it's got to be tomorrow. So they're keeping things hush, hush, hush for this. There's a lot of press screenings tonight. I know that. So it'll be interesting. Let's see here. Jason, the old millennial. How are you? I'm doing quite well. Cheers. I can't, it's November. I had a great October Halloween spooky season. I hope everyone did as well. Now we're moving on. I'm so not ready for Christmas commercials though yet. Oh my goodness. I saw one the day, I think it was actually on October 31st when I was getting ready to go out for Halloween. And I was like, oh, come on. No Christmas just yet. Like, let's give us some time to breathe here. Still not going to be able to drink for another few months. So I'm gulping down a Gatorade. Oh, cheers. Well, Gatorades are always good. What flavor do you have? I always liked the lime one. The lime one and the blue one. Turkey or ham for Thanksgiving? I actually don't eat meat. So I usually do either... there's like a couple different things that I make that are actually really good. One is kind of like a layered... I don't want to call it a souffle. It's not a souffle, but it's like layered, and it has mashed potatoes, and then in the center is like lentils and mushrooms with all the like Thanksgiving seasonings, and then it's topped with like a cranberry like type of sauce, and then it's baked in the oven. But the cranberry apple thing that I make is not overly sweet. So, but yeah. And then just like a lot of sides. And then sometimes I get like the Gardein, like they do like there's a lot of like vegan companies that make roasts. So I'll like buy one of those as well. Hey, what's going on, Luke? I'm sure you're seeing the Marvels this weekend. I would be shocked if you aren't. Yes, plant-based all the way. Yes, that is what I am and what we are. So let's see. Have you had time to see The Unnameable in October? No, I actually don't know what that is, Emmett. So I would be curious to find out, though, if it's good. I always like recommendations. That's why I really like doing these live streams. Everyone gives recommendations. I give recommendations. Killers of the Flower Moon was amazing, but I prefer Oppenheimer. And like, it's so funny that you bring this up because like I totally get why they're comparable. And I, even before I saw Killers of the Moon, was like, Killers of the Flower Moon was comparing them as far as award season goes and things like that. But I think if you like break it down, it's like, it is kind of like comparing apples and oranges. Because they're just so completely different types of stories. They are about atrocious historical events. But yes, they're very different. I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. And, Oppenheimer is like right on the 3-hour mark, I believe. I could be totally wrong on that one. And Killers of the Flower Moon is 3.5 hours. I really think that if Killers of the Flower Moon had stuck to 3 hours, like it doesn't even need to be 2.5. Like I could have sat for 3 hours, even like 3:10. I just think the 3.5 hour mark is what really is detrimenting people from that movie. But I didn't feel it the full time. I felt it after the second act. So like in the third act, I felt it, but I did love the creative choices that Scorsese made in ending and describing or at least showcasing what happened to everyone instead of like the typical biopic end credits on the screen there and being like, well, this happened to so and so, and then in 1907 this happened to blah blah blah. I really love what he did with that, and that is actually what I feel was very heavily influenced by Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid. And this isn't really a spoiler for Beau is Afraid because it's like the whole movie is so insane that I feel like I can just freely say this. So the very end of Beau is Afraid, as the credits are going, you've been like in a stadium scenario for the past like 10-15 minutes. So as you're sitting in the audience, everyone in the audience in the stadium that you're watching is just slowly getting up as the credits roll, and it's very, very meta. And I think that everyone can kind of, if you've seen Killers of the Flower Moon, the whole radio show aspect to me was very heavily influenced by that. So, and I really enjoyed that. What movie make you change your life? Well, thank you so much, Hisham, NCT. I hope I pronounced that correctly for stopping by. I don't want to like, I don't want to be a beat a dead horse or anything like that, but I have said many times that it wasn't until I watched American Beauty when I was like 13 that really changed my entire perspective on film. I was always really into movies, but more for entertainment, and I didn't really recognize the artistry. And then, American Beauty really just like blew my mind, and that's what made me want to be a director. So I love that film, and I think it still holds up. I don't care if people say it doesn't. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for the support, Hunter. That's really kind of you. Yes, about the Marvels. I'm gonna go hate watch it because I know it'll be bad. I do hope it's good though. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that gets tricky. We all don't want it to be bad. There are going to be people that just go into it like looking for it to be bad, and they're really excited because that'll help their channels. And I totally understand that. I'm not expecting a lot, to be completely honest. At least it's short. I think I'm just looking forward more to it answering a lot of the questions we've all been speculating upon with this film. Yeah, I am looking forward to Echo, though. I will tell you that. I'm very looking forward to Echo. I think that trailer was just awesome. And I liked that it's much darker. I was just talking to John Automates and Bone Bridger about this for a Brand versus Demand that will be on John's channel on Friday, where we go really in depth regarding the Echo trailer and things like that. And it looks great. Oh, okay. My celebrity crush when I was a little kid. Well, I think when every girl was into Jonathan Taylor Thomas, that's for sure. And then as I got a little bit older, Shane West. I don't know if anyone remembers who Shane West was. He was like in A Walk to Remember and stuff like that. Those were like my celebrity crushes back then. My tastes have obviously changed. So, but yeah. Also, Ryan Felipe. That was another one because of Cruel Intentions. Last week it was cold, and then this week it's warm. The weather doesn't know what to do here in Kansas. You were in the same boat there, Jason. And in my apartment, we don't control the heat. The landlord does of all the apartments in the building, and so I've been having my window open for like every day because the heat is still blasting. They legally have to turn it on at a certain point when it gets cold at night, but there's no like adjustment. So I've had my windows open right now actually. So I feel you. But at least it's, I don't mind it. It's just a little bit confusing sometimes when it's like, what are you going to wear outside? So to be completely honest, this is an area that I am very ignorant in, and I should watch more Bollywood films. And like the only answer I could give you would be like, I feel like disrespectful because it would be a film that's not a Bollywood movie at all. It was my first introduction to it, which was Slumdog Millionaire. There's like the scene at the end, and that's kind of trying to have similar, they wrap it up in a way and they do the whole dancing and everything. But that is an area that I am really unfamiliar with, and I do need to get better with that, as well as anime. I would say Bollywood and anime are my two genres that I really am not familiar with enough. And I did want to see RRR. I really, really, really wanted to see RRR, and that is still heavily on my list. And I absolutely loved the performance they did at the Oscars. And the trailer just looked so awesome, and I've heard nothing but great things. But I don't know if that would be technically considered a Bollywood movie. So, like, I apologize for my ignorance on that. But I'm definitely open to exploring the genre more. No, I have not seen The Craziest from 2010, but you are not the first person to mention it to me. So yeah, I definitely would like to check that out as well. What's next for you after you see the Marvels? So Friday, actually, I'm glad you brought this up. Friday, David Fincher's The Killer comes to Netflix, and I'm just so pumped about it. I've heard great things, and yeah, so I'm really excited. I think that'll be a really nice palate cleanser before or after the Marvels. Either way. And then coming up, I believe next week, Saltburn, which I'm very excited for. I can't wait for Saltburn. Emerald Fennell's follow up to her, first film directorial debut, which was Promising Young Woman. This movie looks so awesome, so I'm really excited. I really like psychological, sexy thrillers like that, though. What movies you think will get nominated for Best Picture? So, I mean, it's not set in stone. Obviously, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things, Anatomy of a Fall or The Zone of Interest. Those are the two foreign ones that might get in. I should have my list out right now, and I don't. Saltburn, I think, has a good chance, depending on the next few weeks. I think American History. I think that's what it's called. The one with Jeffrey Wright. I really want to see that. The Holdovers. I just saw that. I loved that. So yeah, I know I'm missing a few. I just know it, but those are a handful. So am I bored with superhero movies, like modern superhero movie? No. I'm fatigued of bad writing. I am slightly tired of superhero genre, but I have gotten a break since Blue Beetle, so I'm not going to necessarily feel that when I see the Marvels. I think I will just be if the movie is bad, then I'm just going to be sick and tired and bored of bad filmmaking and bad writing. So, because I have seen so many really good movies recently, and there's been a lot in theaters that I've loved. So that's kind of been nice to take a break from the superhero films. But over the summer, like going from the Flash to Blue Beetle, I was a little burnt out. I'm not going to lie about that one. But like again, I've seen so many great films recently in the theater that I'm ready for another one. And I just hope it's good. My hopes are not high, but I hope it's good. Hey, Laren, how is it going? Good afternoon to you too. I'm one of those who didn't mind Captain Marvel. It was a fun movie set in the 90s. I didn't hate it. I think its problems are more of that Captain Marvel's kind of a Mary Sue in that film, and there's not really any humbling of her character. The only thing I'm going to tell you that I am actually excited for in the Marvels is the Flurkins, because I think those cats are adorable and they have baby ones, and like that's literally the only selling point for me currently with the Marvels. So at least we'll get that. Which movie you hated but everyone loved it? I have a few of those. I'm going to star this one because this is actually a really good question for my guest as well. And I'll get back to you because, everyone's tastes are subjective and things like that. And yes, collectively, there are films that are good and bad. But I don't actually I never hate on anyone that doesn't like something that I love or vice versa. If they loved something and I wasn't a fan of it, I don't really, everyone's different. Everyone experiences lives differently. And that's what films showcase. This will be the first Marvel's movies I've watched in theaters since Endgame. I also haven't seen any of the Disney Plus shows. That'll be interesting for me. Yeah, I have seen most of the Disney Plus shows, but I did not watch Secret Invasion, and I have a feeling that that's directly tied to this movie. So I think the smartest thing they're doing right now, Echo is going to be its own thing, as far as I can tell, and as far as a lot of people can tell. I think the more that they make them not homework for people, and they just make them their own things, I think that works out the best, because otherwise you get overwhelmed and you're like, well, I don't want to watch all this stuff just to catch up. And I think if they recognize that people do watch these shows on Disney Plus, but they also watch a lot of other shows. There's so many streaming networks, so much content out there that you can't expect someone to watch all of them. Like, that's just asking way too much. So stick with ones that kind of resonate with you, are right up your alley. That's fine, but no, I'm not going to force myself to watch Secret Invasion just so I can be prepared for the Marvels. There's absolutely no way. It was different back then with like WandaVision and Loki and things like that. Even those you didn't technically need to see, but I think they, WandaVision helped with the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. But that was a different time. It was a pandemic. People were home. People had a lot more time on their hands. Now there's just no way. There's no way. Hey, how are you, Matt? How is everything? I hope you're doing well. Thanks so much for stopping by. Yeah, I got to get you on here at some point. We'll work it out. Great channel. Everyone. There's a lot of people here with great channels, so check them out. Matt definitely has a great one. I think he hit a pretty big milestone recently. I know he's definitely over 7,000, and I think I'm just like, that's old news at this point. He's probably way up higher than that, but that's great. The movie that changed my perspective was Whiplash. I really like Whiplash a lot, and J.K. Simmons is phenomenal in that. And I love that it was actually a short film that Damien Chazelle made, and then was able to get it picked up as a feature with J.K. Simmons, and I love that. Really great. But I'm a huge jazz fan, so that's also why I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. But there is like this joke that's running through all of Damien Chazelle's movies, where it's some character in his movie has to mansplain what jazz is to a female, and it's really hilarious. And it's like, it just comes off as like he dated a girl in college that just like didn't get jazz, and now he's like seeking revenge in every movie he makes. Speaking of that type of theme here, I wanted to discuss briefly about Priscilla before my guest joins me. So Priscilla was a very enlightening film for someone that didn't really know the background story of their relationship, her and Elvis. The Elvis movie that Baz Luhrmann put out like does not touch upon any of this. And when I watched the Priscilla film, it made the Baz Luhrmann film feel so inauthentic. And I also didn't really like it because I thought the Tom Hanks character was like one of the worst acting performances I've ever seen. And that's not Tom Hanks's fault. I think they just made really weird choices depicting that character. But it felt like when watching Priscilla, like you were just a fly on the wall. She was 14 years old. They met in Germany when Elvis was stationed, and it portrayed him as really controlling and not the best life at all. Like the fairy tale starts to fade away. My issue was, and this is not a spoiler because I think everyone, if they want to know, I mean, it's based off of someone. She eventually does leave him, I think when she's in her 30s, after she has the baby. I don't know how old Lisa Marie was at that time. But I felt that like her leaving and choosing to leave at the end, like I felt it could have been a lot more powerful. And it kind of just ended. Like the movie just kind of ended. But I liked a lot of what Sophia did. And it made me realize there's so many parallels between this film, Marie Antoinette, and Lost in Translation. If anyone doesn't know, Lost in Translation is loosely based. We can't say it's 100% based, but it is based off of her marriage to Spike Jonze when she was very young. And Scarlett Johansson's character is the Sofia Coppola character. And the Giovanni Ribisi character is Spike Jonze. And the Anna Faris character who shows up as the actress is supposedly Cameron Diaz. Neither here nor there. These three films showcase women who are in relationships or marriages at a very young age, not a lot of control, very isolated, men with huge egos, and also being sexually unfulfilled at all three of them. And there's like just these common threads throughout them. And if anyone is also interested, Spike Jonze's movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson, which is actually hilarious that she's in that one as well. I didn't even actually think about that. That's wild to me. That's a parallel story as well. So that is also about Sophia and Spike Jonze's marriage. Or divorce, or whatever you could interpret that as. So they're kind of companion pieces from two sides of the coin. So it's just very interesting, so it's, Sophia is a very, she uses a lot from her personal life, clearly. And I did kind of want to make a video just discussing all three of those, but I don't know if anyone cares that much. I find it really interesting, and I wouldn't want to do a regular review of Priscilla. I want to tie into all this like the themes that are so strong throughout her movies, because they're all the same. Bling Ring's a little different, but that's very different. But as far as these go, the more personal stories, to her, it's interesting that she gravitates towards those. Bollywood is awesome. Yeah, I'm really ignorant with that, and I need to watch more, for sure, or watch any. Any Criterion Rex for me? No, but I'll star this too because I'm not collecting a lot right now, but my guest does. So, and I love the Criterion Collection. I just watched a whole video on the Criterion Collection. This it was just a great like observation of like physical media sales in general are going downhill, but Criterion Collection sales are just continue to rise because people really appreciate the care and packaging and the special features you get, and it's kind of like a commodity. It's a fancy version of the book that you, or not book, film that you want to own, and if you're going to own it forever, you want it to be really special, especially for such classic, incredible, real films. RR is overrated. Well, I didn't see it, but I've only heard good things. So, I liked their performance at the Oscars. That's all I know. But I'll take your word for it. I guess I'll have to check it out for myself and see, because I hate commenting on movies that I haven't seen. Have you seen The Lost Skeleton of Cadavra? It's from 2001, and they made it as a tribute to 50s sci-fi. No, I have not, but that sounds awesome because I love 50s sci-fi. That's really great. Let's see here. There's a lot of questions. Any sure bets on the Oscars you'd bet it all on? For wins, I don't know. That's really tough right now. I haven't seen everything. Nominations, yeah, absolutely. I mean, even something like, I was thinking about this the other day. The Creator actually has really a huge chance in winning Best Visuals, special effects. But even then, like, I wouldn't bet on that. So I don't know. That's too early, Max. You know that. I mean, I could say Emily Blunt's gonna, not Emily Blunt. Well, I don't know if Emily Blunt's gonna win. I could say Emma Stone's gonna win for Poor Things because that's pretty much the trajectory that I keep hearing. But it could go to Lily Gladstone as well. So I mean, I have no idea. But everyone's saying Emma Stone's gonna get her second Oscar for Poor Things, like hands down. What person in Hollywood do you respect the most but dislike their art? For me, it's Tyler Perry. I don't like his movie/TV shows, but I respect him for the work he's given to actors that I like. I would say dislike their art. Oh, so it's not like you don't like them. It's the opposite. You like them and you don't like the art that they put out. That's a great question. I'm going to star this one as well. That's a really good question. Dislike their art. What do I do? What don't I like? I'm trying to think of stuff that I really, really don't like. Yeah, I'm going to come back to that one. Thank you for the great question, though, Matt. That's really fantastic, and it'll be a good question to ask my guest as well. What's a movie that you think requires 2 viewings? Oh, there's a lot of those. There's definitely a lot of those. Phantom Thread absolutely deserves a second viewing. I think the first time you watch it, it's such an it's such a layered, complex film, and there's so much in the subtext of that movie that I absolutely feel like Phantom Thread is one of those, as well as After Sun. After Sun, I absolutely loved it, but after I watched it, I was like, oh my god, I have to watch this again because there's so many things going on with Paul Mescal's character, the dad, that you don't necessarily pick up on because you are seeing it from his daughter's perspective the whole film. So I would say After Sun for me. And actually, I'll start this one, Luke, for my guest as well. Oh my gosh, you know what? I just realized I'm a horrible guest. I did not send him the link. No wonder. He's probably like, where the hell is she? My apologies, everyone. I'll answer a question though while I send him this link. It's been a busy day. It's been a very busy day, and I apologize. Shutter Island. That's a good one. Anything that has like a huge twist ending, I think is great to have a rewatch. Because then you pick up on so many things, even or things like Interstellar. There's a lot that things like that. I'm so sorry, guys. I just need to get this link out to him. Here we are. Hopefully he's watching and he knows that I'm sending it to him right now. Okay, that's all finished. Okay, let's get back. Oh, thank you. Oh, yes. No, thank you. Thank you for the great questions. The thing is just enjoy what you like, even if someone argues that it's bad. I mean, yeah, I think it's like you can take other people's opinions and it's great to have a conversation and disagree and that's great. And I think that there are certain things that people will love for a lot of different reasons that other people don't, and that's fine. That's why movies, that's why there's millions of movies, not everything can apply to appeal to everyone. My guest just showed up, so I'm going to play the little intro video and then we are going to get this show on the road.
Is there alcohol in this?
Oh, God, honey, no. What kind of mother do you think I am? Why do you want a little bit? Because if you're going to drink, I'd rather you do it in the house.
Make it Suntory time.
Hello, welcome.
Hello, what's up?
I'm so happy to have you here. I am so sorry that I just sent the link to you. I
Oh, don't
completely
worry about
forgot.
it. We're right on schedule.
Yes, perfect. I'm actually going to mirror my camera the other way because otherwise I'll be looking away from you, and that happens every time. And I just do that to begin, but I also always forget to do that. So, Mark, I want you to be able to introduce yourself to the chat, and kind of maybe talk about your channel and a little bit about yourself. We've had a very active chat, so I mean, we've just been going back and forth about a lot of different things, and you and I will touch upon those things as well. And then we'll also, have fun talking about movies we like and dislike and what we're looking forward to. So I'll put you on by yourself in solo mode, and you can tell everyone in the chat a little bit about you.
Sure. Well, my name is Mark. YouTube channels Tales from the Shelf. I'm also on Instagram, and I love movies. I try to see as many as I can, new ones as well as old stuff. I'm constantly working through a backlog of physical media that's just off camera. And then as far as what I post on Instagram, I like to just document all the things I collect, be it vinyl records, movies primarily, but you'll find some books on there and stuff as well. And then on YouTube, I do a lot of different things as far as videos go. I like to do video essays that are a little more in depth and sort of deep dives. And then sometimes I do just a sort of thought experiment videos where I kind of just talk about a subject that's been on my mind and think is worth talking about. So yeah, that's about it, really.
Well, that's fantastic. And I'm sure everyone is really excited to have you here. There's a few people saying hi, so I'll bring these up really quick. Actually, everyone's saying hi to each other earlier. So yes, but everyone's essentially here we are. Yes, we have Mark from
Larry, what's up?
Holland Oates. And we have some questions that were asked earlier on, and I starred them, and we'll get to them because I thought they'd be good questions for you. They're also not the easiest ones to come up with the top of your head. So, but we'll get into that.
Thankfully, I was watching, so I have an idea of what to expect. So.
Oh, perfect. I just want to address this person really quick because I was talking about Priscilla earlier on. I don't think you're going to dislike it. It's very enlightening. And again, my critique is really just how the film ended. But I think you will, especially if you saw the Elvis movie by Baz Luhrmann, this is a very opposite perspective on what happened. And it is based directly off of Priscilla's memoir that happened. So, oh my goodness, I'm going to put you back on for a second, and I'm going to, I have to change my battery. I'm so sorry.
Oh, don't worry about it.
But this is a great one for you. Because I always say, it doesn't matter if someone hates something that I love and vice versa. It's okay. Everyone has different opinions. So I'd love to know if there's a movie you hated, but everyone loved it.
So I think it was 2021, the Ghostbusters Afterlife came out, and everybody seemed to really enjoy that movie, and I just could not stand it at all. I actually found it kind of offensive, and so it's a spoiler, really, that is the main thing that I didn't like about it. Spoiler, I guess, for Ghostbusters Afterlife, but they do this CGI ghost hologram of Harold Ramis, and it just was. It set such a bad precedent because not only is it just like so unnecessary in the context of the movie, and just not a thing that needed to be done, but then also when you think about like, is this just what we're gonna have from now on? I mean, we've seen it a lot with Disney where they just have this habit of like resurrecting people. This Harold Ramis at the end of Ghostbusters Afterlife, and that was the biggest thing, and it was kind of ruining the whole movie for me because I knew they were gonna do it. So the whole time I'm just like waiting. I'm like, all right, how are we going to address? Because he's the only one who's not alive still, Harold Ramis. So I'm like, okay, I just know they're gonna do this, and then sure enough, they do it, and then yeah, just did not like Ghostbusters Afterlife. And then there's a new one coming out that people have been talking about. Apparently, a trailer's coming for that tomorrow. So like, we'll see how that goes.
Oh, there's a new Ghostbusters coming out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that one, but I'll tell you, recently, like, I don't know, maybe it was a year ago, I kept seeing posters for that movie all over New York, and I took photos of it and I posted on Instagram, and I was like, why are we still seeing these? And then I realized it wasn't a poster for the movie. It was like having, like, telling people to be prepared that live in New York for like a nuclear thing. I don't know what I can say on YouTube without getting, but you know what I'm saying? Like for an Oppenheimer event, I will tell you. So it was like, oh, okay. But it looked exactly the same with Paul Rudd and everyone, just like the exact poster. And I was like, this is very strange. Got my attention, but I literally just thought it was an ad for that movie. And so until I actually read what it said, and I was like, oh, okay.
That's so bizarre.
Very bizarre. So I'm going to also, let's see here. We have one from Laren. Any Criterion recommendations?
I actually do have a couple here. When I saw this question come up and you mentioned me, I ran over and like grabbed some off the shelf, and I'll just kind of run through them really fast.
Well, that's why you're Tales from the Shelf.
Yeah, well, and it's the thing is I don't have like there's people who are way more well versed in Criterion. People like 20th and 21st. And a few other channels. But with that being said, I do have a few, and so just Smooth Talk is really good. It's got Laura Dern and Treat Williams in it, and this came out in like 1985, and that was when like you had a lot of like the Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Weird Science, sort of just more zany like teen movies, and this one is a little more intense, I guess is the right word. It takes a drastic tonal shift in like the last like 30 minutes that really like makes it very memorable. So This is one I would suggest checking out.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Paris, Texas is also very good. It's also from 84. This one I won't even say anything about. Just watch it. Because the plot, the way that it unfolds is like you don't really know what's going on until a good chunk of the way in. So by telling you anything, it would kind of ruin that introduction for you.
I have seen that one.
It's really, so you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And I mean, did you ever see the film? Because not a lot of people saw this one that I'm going to mention, but to me, they were very similar themes. And it's a movie with Ben Foster called Leave No Trace.
I've not seen that.
Okay. Yeah. It's another like father centric, it's like a dad that like lives off the grid with his daughter, and it leaves you with that same kind of feeling at the end. Like it's not the happiest of films, but someone that kind of just is a parent that needs to live a certain lifestyle, before putting their kid first. I know I probably talked way too much about Paris, Texas for your liking, but
no,
I just had to bring it up.
That still leaves it very open, I would say, because the experience of watching this, I didn't know anything about it, and then like I had heard from enough people to watch it, and then I did, and the way that it sort of unfolds is very slow, but then it starts to throw some more exposition at you in a very organic way. It's not like spoon fed, and I think it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes, so it really takes its time. And then the ending is like you're just on the edge of your seat because it's like a resolution. It's very good. Another one I would recommend is Double Indemnity. I'm trying to watch a lot of noir films for Noir-vember, people will call it.
Oh yeah.
And this was one of them. It's really good. It's so I'll give you the basic plot. It's just this girl, Barbara Stanwyck, is trying to off her husband, and like claim his life insurance policy. And he gets she gets Fred McMurray, who is an insurance salesman, to like help her out with it. And since he knows all the ins and outs of, how these clauses work to get the most amount of money out of it, so he finds himself kind of roped into it. And then since he works for the insurance company, he knows how the murder takes place, and so he's constantly having to stay one step ahead of like his own coworkers and stuff. And that's where like a lot of the tension comes in, because it's where he knows what happened and he has to try to throw them off the trail. So it's very interesting.
It's a really good movie. And my dad got me that actually as a gift. And yeah, it's a fantastic film. I really like film noirs. So, and I actually didn't know it was Noir-vember. So I can't believe I missed the boat on that one. At least the month just started, so I can get on that.
Oh yeah, no, it's not too late. And I don't know that it's an official thing, but it's, a thing people do. And it's an excuse to watch a lot of older movies, because that is a big blind spot, like movies from the 40s and 50s for me. So I like to take any reason I can to check out more of them.
Yeah.
This one's another one from 85. So these are all sort of in the same couple years, except for Double Indemnity. But After Hours is super good. This one was really hyped because I don't even think this had a Blu-ray before this came out from Criterion like a couple months ago. And then they got a 4K as well as a Blu-ray. Scorsese movie, got Griffin Dunn from American Werewolf in London. And basically, he is just kind of like this guy. Have you seen it at all?
No, it's on my list though, because I realized
so
there's quite a few Scorsese films like from the 80s and 70s. Like I've seen like a handful, like the classics, but there's ones like this that I have not. So I want to check them off my list.
It's so much fun. It's like basically the guy makes plans to like hang out with this girl. He's got a very kind of his day-to-day life is not fulfilling. It's very boring. So he takes a chance and he like gets outside of his comfort zone, decides to ask this girl out on a date, and then he winds up, and this will be because you live in New York, so this is set in New York, and basically he is on like one side of New York, and it's like very late at night, and he has to get back home, and things just keep happening that prevent him from getting home, be it the cab and the subway, their problems. So he is just, you just want the guy to get home so bad, and it's like this weird surreal fever dream of just like a terrible night, and finding it's very fun. So I would recommend those ones.
No, I'll definitely check that out. I was watching an interview with Scorsese recently, and he was talking about because you brought it up, like most of his movies are New York films, and he like called one of his best friends when he was making Killers of the Flower Moon, Fran Lebowitz, who's a very New York writer, and he's like, Franny, I'm in the forest, and she's like, in the forest? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, well, how many trees are there? And he's like, 3. And he's like to him, that's the forest, because he's like never outside of the city. It was just he was like having a panic that he's like in the wilderness forest. There's like 3 trees because it was filmed in Oklahoma, and it's just like,
That's so funny. Have you ever seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yes, but not every episode. I've seen quite a few though.
There's this Charlie has this trait where like he's never left Philly, so like anytime there's this one episode where they go on like a road trip or something, and they like have to knock him out, otherwise he like freaks out because he's not around buildings. It's like a really funny character quirk. That's what that reminded me of.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah. I'm going to unstar this one. That was your last Criterion.
Yeah, that was it that I had. I mean, I have a whole other shelf I could run through, but I don't want to spend. Those were the ones that I think people should definitely check out, though.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We've got. I'll star this one too. There's a couple. I'm just going to start. Again, very active chat. Okay, we got The View with Drew. I'm just going to throw this up there real quick. I saw Across the Spider-Verse and The Flash recently. Across the Spider-Verse was fantastic. The Flash was good, but CGI was really bad. The CGI in The Flash is really, really bad. I think that's...
Yeah. I actually liked The Flash, and I felt like I was like, I don't know, like a pariah for liking it.
No, I agree. There's a lot about The Flash that I really like. There's certain things that I think are problematic with it, but I think all the stuff they really nailed with the Flash and his mom was like so well done. Like I didn't leave the theater being like, oh, this movie sucked. Like upon like later reviewing, there are issues, but it's not like the worst movie I've ever seen, and I did enjoy quite a bit of it.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that it had all the circumstances around it that
Yeah.
it did, with like the restructuring of DC, Ezra Miller, the CGI. Like, it has a lot working against it, to where I feel like there's a section of the population who are just like very like willing to just sort of write it off based on that alone, and they're not really willing to look at what is done well, which I did think it did. Like, I laughed out loud several times, and I really enjoyed the way that the third act plays out. It's not very conventional for like how those
Right.
typically go. It's a little more like interesting, which is like always going to be refreshing in this day and age where, you know, anything that seems different will automatically get points for me.
I agree, and I think with the fact that you said you laughed, out loud quite a few times, I've brought up the point to a lot of people that, like, even if you don't like Ezra Miller, I mean, the fact that he was able to have really great comedic timing with himself,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
that's hard to do. That's very difficult. And he really played off of himself well, to a certain, I know obviously there's graphics and stand-ins and things like that, but as far as an actor goes, envisioning how to time those out properly, I mean, I thought that was should be recognized.
Yeah, it's commendable because he has been such an annoying character in every like previous movie. So then it was sort of a stroke of brilliance to have him play opposite a more annoying version of himself to
Right.
make him look he automatically is more likable compared to the other version. So it worked out really well, I thought.
It did. We have Faye here. Faye comes on to the stream I do with the Bone Bridger and John Automates quite often. Thanks so much for stopping by, Faye.
Very
Hail to you. I will say that as well. Hope work's not going too badly for you. Holland says Double Indemnity is all time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good. David
Yeah.
says the same. One of the best ever made. So if everyone is interested in doing noir November, noir November,
you could just say Noir November, like, or you could like just shorten it to a Noir November. I don't know. There's no official like trademark on this. It's really whatever you want to call it.
yes. We've got KB. How's it going, KB?
Hey, what's up, dude?
KB was on this channel last week for Halloween, and if anyone, I know spooky season's over, but if you want to hear some a really great conversation about some Halloween films or scary movies, that you can always check out on the replay. We also had Mika and Draculina Horror, so it was a fun time.
Awesome.
Yes. Laren says loves Paris, Texas, and I've never seen Double Indemnity, but I picked it up last night. So that's
the thing about Double Indemnity that I'll say real quick is just like, as much as I like to consider myself like a cinephile or, whatever, like a movie guy, a lot of movies from this time period, you really have to put yourself like in the mindset to watch them. And sometimes you can get a little bored. I'll be the first to say it. This one is not. It holds your attention like the whole time. And that's something that I feel like is worthy of being pointed out anytime I find it in a movie this old, because like just pacing wise, it holds up to the modern day, which is not something all of these or movies from that time can say.
I agree. And, I actually, during the Halloween spooky season, I actually watched an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. And that, like, when I was little, used to be on Nick at Night all the time. But that was, like, the one show that came on really late because it was, like, for a much more adult audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I threw one on. And obviously, I've seen a billion of his films. But just what went on in a 50-minute TV special, there was so much anxiety and tension, and it was like kind of like a little bit of a courtroom drama towards the end, and it was like a who done it and who's gonna get caught, and same type of thing, very film noir-esque. And just masterful, really. I absolutely loved it. Okay, so here we go. Oh yes, Matt. Yes, yeah, you're not the only one. There's people that do. We're all we get that there's issues, but we really liked it. So,
Yeah, I mean, believe me, if someone had told me going into The Flash that I was going to wind up liking it as much as I did, I would have been shocked. But
yeah,
like I was not expecting me to like it as much as I did. So
I agree. And I'm going to bring up, Matt actually has a good question. And I start it for this. So I'm going to bring that up next. Because this is, I have to really think about it. It's what person in Hollywood do you respect the most but dislike their art. For me, it's Tyler Perry. I don't like his movies / TV shows, but I respect him for the work he's given to the actors I like. And I agree with that. And I know that like people have said he's really difficult, but I'm not sure. And those could just be rumors. But he did start like an entire organization with his production company and employs tons of people and really gives back to his communities and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super familiar with Tyler Perry's work, like at all. Like I'm aware of it, but I haven't seen any of it, so I can't really speak to him.
Right.
But, yeah, but as far as I have like two immediate people that come to mind. One is Zack Snyder, and the other would be Rob Zombie. Two people that they have like super hardcore like fan bases, and I like a few Zack Snyder movies. Like I thought the Justice League. The cut that he did was good.
Yeah.
Not super rewatchable because it's 4 hours.
Right.
And then I also enjoy movies like 300. I really like Dawn of the Dead remake. I think Sucker Punch is like not a good movie, but like is a vibes movie. And
right.
It's like fun to watch from time to time. So like I respect him, but like he's mostly misfire for me. And then like same with Rob Zombie, like he's super well respected and well, I shouldn't say that. People don't typically like his Halloween movies, but like him on like a broader scale, like if you are including everything he's done, just outside of the Halloween fan base, he's pretty well liked, I would say. It just doesn't happen to be my style.
I would agree with that for sure. And for me with Zack Snyder specifically, I did not like Sucker Punch, but I am in love with The Watchmen, and I actually really am a huge Man of Steel fan. So and also I totally get what you're saying with the watchability factor of Justice League. But that's just really circumstantial. I think at that point he's like, well, if I get to do it, I'm going to put everything I can imagine in there.
Oh yeah, I don't blame him for making it 4 hours long.
Yeah.
You know, he's well within his right. And it's like if I'm a diehard Zack Snyder fan, I want it to be 6 hours long. So
completely.
Yeah. That was made for the fans for sure, you know. So
Maxfield is agreeing about the Flash because he also really enjoyed the film as well. He's a big Flash person, and I think that was just a big deal to finally have a Flash movie for him too.
Yeah.
So
I'm telling you, if that had come out like under a different set of circumstances, it would be so much more well liked. And then people talk about, I mean, this is going to be a Flash spoiler as well, but the whole Christopher Reeve thing, I feel like I have to acknowledge that because it would be hypocritical of me to kind of trash Ghostbusters Afterlife, which does something similar with Harold Ramis. But to that, I will say, I looked into it. They got his estate's permission to do it. People will go back and forth as to whether he personally would have liked that to happen. And that's something that we can really only like speculate on because obviously they're not around anymore, right? So people could say, you know, he wouldn't like that, but it's like we really don't know. And if for me, it wasn't done like in poor taste. Like it's kind of a quick thing, and then they get out of there. They move on to the next thing. But the Harold Ramis thing, he's in that for like the last 20 minutes.
Wow,
and it's just very strange. I'm sorry, I just remembered you haven't seen it.
No, I know.
But
I already heard. Don't worry. That was spoiled.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's how I feel about that.
No, I understand that, and I agree. It didn't bother me in The Flash actually when that happened with Christopher Reeves. So
yeah, I mean, his family's getting money, so
yeah. So this is I answered this one with 2 films. I mean, there's so many that are applicable to this question. Do you have any 2 that you think require 2 viewings?
So when I read this question initially, the first thing that popped into my mind is not a movie, but it's a show, Midnight Mass on Netflix, Mike Flanagan.
Yeah.
I watched it when it came out, and then I watched it again this past September, and I won't say specifically why, but there are things that happen around the midpoint of the show where like there's a big revelation and it recontextualizes a lot of the stuff that you've seen in the first half of the show. So watching it the second time, knowing what happens going into that, you're like there's like specific moments where you can point at the screen and be like, oh, like that's a thing. And it's that's something that definitely rewards repeat viewings. And then as far as movies go,
Did you see The Fall of the House of Usher? Because I didn't get a chance to.
I did watch that.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought it was like sort of a step down
Okay.
from it's good. Like the Mike Flanagan bar is so high that even something that I don't love is still like a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Know? So I mean, for me, Midnight Mass is like the best thing he's ever done, and that's like firmly like at the top 5 out of 5 stars. So like to say that I didn't think it was as good as that is not really the slight that it could be construed as. It's still very good.
Cool.
Very much worth watching. But yeah, as far as movies that require 2 viewings, honestly, I think the list of ones that don't require more viewings is like shorter than the ones that do.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I agree with that.
You know, like there's a million I could say, but of course I can't remember any of them off the top of my head right now. I mean, since we were talking about it earlier, or you were talking about it earlier, Beau is Afraid. I would like to rewatch that one again, especially after the conversation that we all had about it.
Yeah, that definitely needs.
I feel like it would go up even further on my list of the year.
Oh my god! Yeah, and I was talking about that movie earlier during the stream. I didn't even bring that up for this question, but that is absolutely the case. Yeah, it definitely needs more than one viewing.
yeah, I would like to watch that one again for sure, and I probably will before the year's over, just to kind of like finalize its placement on my list of the year's releases.
Right.
Because I like to watch them all at least twice to kind of, you know, your first viewing, you're going to have a sort of gut reaction, you know, prisoner of the moment thing, and then let a little time go by, and then things might go up, they might go down. So
you have Letterboxd, right?
I do.
Okay, I believe we follow each other on that. Do you ever like go back and change your score? Because I do that sometimes.
Sometimes I do, yeah. Like I was just saying, there's a lot of times where I come out of something, like I'm more likely to give something a higher score, reflect on it a little bit, and then drop it down like a half a star or sometimes even a full star.
I'm the same exact way. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very like, I love lists. Like I love organizing things. Like as soon as I see a new movie for the year, like it immediately gets on the list, and then I put it where I think it goes. And I love like sort of laboring over that and having just like a visual representation of like my thoughts on the year as it sits. So.
And it's difficult too, because different genres, I feel like, lend themselves to being critiqued differently, like harsher or less harsh, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Like when you get into like, so like, I don't know, I guess like my 5 through 10 is like a lot of 4-star films, right? So it's like, well, what makes this 4-star film better than this 4-star film? And they're totally different, both doing entirely different things. And then you have to kind of like grade them as such. And then I'll typically just kind of go based on what I enjoyed overall more, you know? So it's hard to do though. I mean, there'll be times where I'll be like, this is it. This is my final list. And then like a week will go by and I'm like, actually, this could probably be a little higher. And so it's just constantly changing. I'll go back multiple years too, like 2021, 2022. I'll kind of see what I was thinking. I'm like, man, I was really high on this. And like now years later, I'm not so high on it. So people's opinions definitely change over time.
Yeah, and actually, I had a similar thing happen recently, and I hadn't had this film on Letterboxd, even though I owned it and I'd seen it a couple times. I rewatched Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette actually the day before I went to see Priscilla, because Max hadn't seen it and he had always wanted to. And I remember it not being well received with critics when it first came out, and I had kind of like stuck up for it when it did. And on a rewatch, I actually still feel pretty validated that like it's actually, because I kind of went into it being like, oh, you know, sometimes when you show someone a movie and you're not sure if they're going to really be into it or not, so you're kind of like, well, you might not like it and blah blah blah. And I actually, after rewatching, I was like, no, like I totally get what she was doing, and actually I'm fine with liking it. And then I went onto Twitter like the same day or the day after, and Marie Antoinette was trending, and it's like everyone, I guess, is like saying how critics were way too harsh on that movie and like they just didn't get it. And you know, so you know, in hindsight, your opinions can completely change about a film.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, the time of like what's happening in the world can shape things, and like how people appraise it, and then it becomes just unfortunate that things are released when they are because of how people like outside circumstances can affect its appraisal. Like you see that a lot with like post 9/11. a lot of things like Hostel and stuff. Like people were very like making a lot of like mean spirited things at that time, and it just wasn't what people wanted to see ultimately. So like a lot of movies like from that era can often be unfairly criticized for that. So yeah.
It's fascinating if you see like the movies that came out before 9/11 and like right after, it is like such a shift.
Mm-hmm. No, it's crazy for sure. But yeah, and it's sometimes it's good, like really get when things get these reappraisals, and then other times like you see like a bit of like revisionist history where people are like, you see it with Star Wars a lot, where they're like the prequels are actually good, and it's like, well, two things can be true at once. Like two things can both be bad. Like just because this thing makes these look a little better doesn't make them. I mean, they're still bad at the end of the day. So it's a very nuanced subject, I think.
I'm going to bring this up just because you were talking about it. Yeah, I like The Fall of the House of Usher, although I can't stand poetry. So those pearls were agitator annoying for me. I'm not sure because I didn't see it. So.
Yeah, so it's
I know it's based off of an Edgar Allan Poe story.
It's based on the titular story, the Fall of the House of Usher, which I didn't know hardly anything about. But then there's other Poe stories that have elements of those stories woven into the overall story. So it's sort of like a love letter to Poe just in general. It's not just House of Usher. So if you're familiar with some other Poe stories, like they find their way in as well. And me having just a very like cursory knowledge of Poe, it was kind of cool because I'm like, oh wait, I do remember reading this in high school, and then the things start like happening on screen, and you're like, oh, that's this story. So it was kind of cool to like experience that in like real time, where you're like realizing, oh, they're doing this, not just House of Usher. So it was cool. I enjoy Poe, so I thought it worked overall.
I do as well. So I mean, both of those Mike Flanagan shows have definitely been on my list, and I definitely need to watch them and check them out.
Oh, so you haven't seen Midnight Mass either?
No, I know. I'm still behind. I
would place that one at the top of your list.
Okay.
If such a list exists. Definitely Midnight Mass, number one.
Cool.
For me, anyway.
I have no idea what this is. Do you know what this is? Fallout, Amazon show?
Yeah, it's so I think that's based on the series of video games.
Okay.
If you're familiar with Skyrim, it's basically the same developer as Skyrim.
Okay.
Except it's like a post-apocalyptic world rather than like a fantasy, almost like a Lord of the Rings type world. So it's like an open world video game. I wasn't a big fan of those games. I hear they're critically acclaimed. I just never personally spent a lot of time playing them. I played more like Skyrim. So, but regardless of all of that, I think that video game adaptations have like an immediate like stigma, and they have to prove themselves right out of the gate. So who's to say if it'll be good or not? The odds are against it is pretty much all I can say about that. So.
Especially since I think Amazon did the Halo series, right? And that was not well received.
I think that was actually Paramount, but that was also not well received.
Right.
So there's like the Twisted Metal show, which was also like, I don't know that it got bad reviews, but it wasn't good enough to kind of generate a lot of good word of mouth. So
yeah. I had to bring this up. Being a Poe fan, it was like 8 episodes of Easter eggs goodness. Thoroughly enjoyed.
Right. Yeah. So like I am not the hugest fan. I'm not a fan, but I'm not like a mega fan either. I was kind of, I guess, maybe right in the middle. So I enjoyed it still. And then being a big Poe fan, like you're probably going to get a lot more out of it. Like there's probably things that I didn't even catch because they might be a little more on the subtle side. So,
okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to pause on the chat for a moment. I did star a couple things, but I wanted to just hear a little bit from you about some of the things you saw recently.
Sure.
Specifically, maybe anything you saw in the theater recently. If it wasn't in the theater, it could also be at home. And then also, like, what are you looking forward to seeing? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so I was actually looking on my Letterboxd diary here.
And I can hear you. I'll be right back, though.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
So the last thing I saw in theaters was Killers of the Flower Moon. I haven't been to the theater since, and that was like September. That was October 22nd. So it's been a couple weeks. That being said,
Can I get your opinion on Pillars of the
oh
Flower Moon?
yeah, no.
I'm so happy you saw it because I'm glad I can talk with someone about it.
Yeah, 100%. I thought it was incredibly like well made. Obviously, so because of the runtime and the subject matter, it's not a movie that I could see myself rewatching a ton.
Yeah.
But like there's really nothing you can like take away from it in terms of like acting, technical, prowess. It's all just masterfully done.
Yeah.
We're witnessing like arguably the greatest living director on his last. I mean, it's morbid to say it could be his last. Maybe he's got 1-2 left at most, I would think.
Yeah.
So we're kind of living like through history in a way, and I try to be cognizant of all that when I'm watching movies like this. Like this isn't just it's important, really, is what it is. So yeah, no, I mean I gave it like a 4.5 out of 5. The runtime, the pacing it was paced super well. Like it felt like a 2.5 hour movie, which is like one of the biggest pros I think you can give it, because I think a lot of people get turned off when they hear about how long it is. I myself was a little like anxious at the thought of spending that long at the theater, just because it's a big part of your day. So I could understand people not wanting to go see it in theaters. So, but I would say it's worth it.
I think it's worth it, and I think what I've been discovering, and you can disagree with me, but I think it's the 3-hour mark is, I think, the limit that people have, because I see the difference between Oppenheimer, which was 3 hours, and Killers of the Flower Moon, which was 3.5. And I think that's when it starts to because I personally I thought the pacing was fantastic. I think the third act is where the pacing kind of lost itself a little bit, and I don't know if we necessarily needed to see the back and forth with what was happening to Leo and the prison. Yes, you needed to show it, but I just kind of felt like it just kind of took a little bit long to get to where we needed to be. But I kept telling everyone I knew that was going to see it, I was like, if you need to use the restroom in the movie, just do it. Like, just go to the restroom, come back, because the ending is so important with the radio show. I'm not spoiling anything here.
Yeah.
And I thought that I didn't want people to feel like anxious and like they're going to miss something. So I've just said to people, like, obviously, if you watched movies before, you know when to go. Like after something big happens, there's usually like a couple minutes, but like not a lot happens. So,
we all have that built-in kind of indicator where like things go up, big action thing happens, and then it's starting to go down. That's when you should go. I feel like we all kind of have that internal like thing to tell us when to go. Yeah, no, I'll definitely buy it when it comes out. I just, it's like I said, it's important that we, be just in the moment and like appreciate Scorsese while we still have him, and just kind of, just enjoy these movies. Like, I don't think anybody will be complaining about runtime like after he's gone. If anything, we'll wish we had more. So that's kind of the way I try to look at it.
Yes, and I know I've been saying this to death since this movie has come out, but if anyone in the chat does not realize that Killers of the Flower Moon is a true story, or at least based off heavily on a true story, it is a true story. So I am just the responses I heard when I was leaving the theater, I just were blowing my mind. So
yeah,
yeah.
No, it's incredible that people don't know that. And that's why
crazy, right? The whole story is so crazy.
And that's why it's important that we got the movie that we got, just so that people can like be educated about it.
Yes, I absolutely agree. We have hi Nerdy Film Girl and guest. Hello Marvel fan, thank you for joining.
How you doing?
We've got fans of something. Oh, hi Mark.
What's up?
Do they do that with you all the time?
Yeah, we talked about it. They had me on Eddie. We had like a one-on-one conversation. So Haley wasn't there, but it was me, him, and Eddie, and it was just me and Eddie, excuse me. And yeah, we got around to the whole "oh hi Mark" thing. It always comes up. So
I'm sure.
yeah, it's funny though. I
Um,
think it's funny.
he wants to know when you're going live on your channel. Are you going to be doing live streams?
I've never done one on my own. I would have to look into it. I'm sure it's not too difficult. I'd have to get like StreamYard and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I guess I would. I don't know. I kind of placed the arbitrary like number on myself to like wait till I had 1,000 subscribers, and I'm at like 663. So, but that's not something that's like set in stone. If something comes up before that, where I feel like it's something I want to do and something I could get like some cool guests on for. Honestly, I don't think about it a lot, but questions like this make me think about it more. So.
I mean, you're very knowledgeable and very easygoing and great to listen to. So, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on. And if anyone in the chat is not subscribed, his channel is in the description down below. So I had to just put that little PSA in there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I apologize. So I mean, you started off with Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm gonna get.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's been a bit dry since Killers. I really want to see Priscilla. I want to see the Holdovers. But
you'll love the Holdovers. I'm telling you right now. You're gonna love it.
I've seen the trailers had me kind of sold instantly. It looked very like right up my alley. I have Regal Unlimited, so
me too.
It's in my best interests to go to Regals. I mean, I could see Priscilla like tonight if I wanted to, but essentially my tickets are free if I go to Regal. So it behooves me to kind of wait for Regal to get it, which they typically get it like the week after it goes wide with A24 movies. I'm not sure why, but that seems to be the way it goes, at least for my Regal. So
that A24, as much as I love them and I think they are the best studio in Hollywood currently, I've heard like so many people, depending on where they live, that they either don't get the A24 films at their theaters, or they have to wait before after everyone else gets it. So and it's again disgusting. My apologies. I'm just going to switch my camera.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, I filmed a really long video today with Bonebridger and John, and I think that's what just killed my cameras. So, but that's okay.
No worries.
Yeah.
So. I'm just looking at my letterbox list right now. Oh, there you go.
There we go. Yes.
Yeah. And then things like with Beau is Afraid, it was in my theater for like maybe a week, and then it was gone. So like if I didn't go when I went, I would have been screwed. So.
Yeah. Well, you did get the Holdovers in your theater?
So there was a like early press, like there was an early screening that I could have went to, but I didn't go to it. And then like I'm looking at my app right now, and it's not playing right now, and it also doesn't say like when it's coming.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of on like a wait and see thing where I open the app every day and hope that it's playing.
Right.
That's pretty much where I'm at with it. So.
Well, if anyone in the chat maybe has seen the trailer for the Holdovers and it didn't really like knock your socks off, I kind of had a feeling I'd like it, but the movie is so much more than the trailer. Like it is really, really good. And Paul Giamatti is absolutely fantastic in it. I do think he deserves a Best Actor nomination. I've thought about this a lot recently because at first I wasn't sure. It's going to be tough though because the Best Actor category is just so jam packed this year. So he might not make it in there, but he's really phenomenal in it, and I really lost himself in the role. And if everyone knows Chris Stuckman's he just did a review on the Holdovers, and it's essentially exactly how I feel, and it's really, really great review. So check that out if you are interested.
I wanted to watch it, but I also wanted to wait till I saw it first.
Right.
So I'm kind of in a limbo.
It's spoiler free, I would say. So
yeah, that's true. I just also don't like to have, if I can avoid it, I don't like to have too many outside factors that could possibly color my expectations.
I agree with that. I would say.
So it's just something I'm trying to actively. I try not to watch a lot of trailers these days also.
Because they're out of control sometimes. They give you too much information.
Yeah, it's like I kind of know whether I'm going to see something based on a lot of the information I have before a trailer comes out. Sometimes it can sway me, like I can get me more excited, but for the most part, like my ticket's bought for a lot of things like before I ever see a trailer. So
yeah. Matt just subbed to you, so that's really nice.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that a lot.
What are your guys' number one favorite film, if you can name it? Mine's Return of the Jedi. Love your discussion though tonight. Well, that's like the impossible question. So
Mm.
I
So
don't know. Do you have a favorite?
what I can do is give you 4.
Okay,
Um,
that
my
works.
top letterbox list, or my top 4 on my letterbox, excuse me. Like I change them every month. Because I think it's a little more fun to kind of get just a little bit different representation on your profile.
That is
But
fun. I should do that.
I do have a 4 that would be there that were there like before I decided to rotate them out. So I'll just say the 4. It's Before Sunrise, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Paris, Texas, and The Color of Money would be my 4 movies. I think that kind of accurately, because if you just say one movie, it doesn't really. That's why I love the top 4 on Letterboxd so much, because you could kind of pick 4 that really kind of hone or span your entire spectrum of like what you're really into, and those would be my 4. So, and then also you mentioned American Beauty earlier, and I really love American Beauty as well. That would be number 5.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
so,
Yeah. Glad I have a fellow American Beauty fan.
Yes,
It's also interesting that you brought up The Color of Money, because that is one of the craziest instances to me where you made a sequel of a film like 30 years after the fact. I mean,
something like that.
yeah, and it's really, really good, and that is really hard to pull off.
Yeah, I mean, it's Paul Newman is like just has so much charisma, and it's like so endlessly watchable. Like you just can't help but watch when he's on the screen.
Yeah.
And then you've got the meteoric rise of Tom Cruise in the 80s, with movies like Risky Business was around this time, Cocktail, he was doing a lot of different stuff and really making a name for himself. And it also is like the convergence of like my 2 favorite things, which is pool and movies. There's like my 2 favorite things in life. So it's very much like my shit. Like I just love it. So
totally. Actually, Laren's bringing up a film that I need to see.
Yes.
Blowout. I have not seen it.
Really good. I have the Criterion over there. So yeah, Brian De Palma is one of the best to ever do it. So
because isn't that kind of like a I don't want to say companion piece, but I don't really know what else to call it at this point, to The Conversation. I think they're like, I believe Blowout, Ryan De Palma was influenced by The Conversation, the Gene Hackman film, when he did Blowout. And I believe they're kind of both voyeuristic and hearing something you shouldn't hear and all that. So
yeah, I haven't actually seen The Conversation, so I can't speak to that, but
that's a recommendation for you then. You would love it. Yeah.
All right. Let me just look it up. You said Gene Hackman's in it?
It's a William Friedkin movie.
He's very good. Oh, it's Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh my God, sorry. Yes, I'm confused. I'm sorry. I've been talking about William Friedkin.
It's fine. They're both F names.
Yeah. It's Coppola, yes. And I just saw his daughter's movie. Actually, can I give you a really quick, hilarious story about Francis Ford Coppola, actually?
Sure.
So I was working at a place that was used to having like a lot of celebrities in. And this young person was, I guess, not familiar with Francis Ford Coppola as a filmmaker. And when they knew that he was arriving, said, the winemaker.
Wow, really?
I know. And I like died. Yeah. It's yeah.
That was a young person?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That they would know him for wine and not movies.
Because of those bottles, I guess they were everywhere. And I think he had to sell his vineyard recently because he's not doing well financially. And that movie he's trying to make is just putting everyone into a lot of debt. So
yeah, it's such a depressing, and this kind of ties into Scorsese as well.
Yeah.
That, these guys just can't get their movies funded. And it's like, do you not understand like who this man is? Like,
I know.
It's like, it's insane. It's like if no one has goodwill, I mean, if anyone should have goodwill in Hollywood, it should be like those 5 guys. It should like Scorsese, George Lucas, Brian De Palma, Coppola, and who's the 5th one? There was 5 of them. The guys who all kind of were coming up. Spielberg, yes, exactly. Yeah. How could I forget?
No, it's okay.
But like those 5 guys like essentially changed Hollywood like all at the same time, and like George Lucas is just like, I mean, he's so done with it. Like he's just kind of chilling, and like these other guys have aspirations to make movies still, and it's like, what are we doing? Like when they're gone, they're gone. Like you don't get this again. Like, you know, there's up and coming filmmakers, like for sure, who are going to make names for themselves, but you know, by and large, like you're not going to ever see that again specifically. So it's unfortunate, you know, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. And it is good that you have a studio like Apple that doesn't care about making money.
Yes, they have more money than God, so like
yes.
they can give Scorsese $200 million, and God bless them honestly for doing so, because you know if they weren't, I don't know who was gonna, because.
And it's still kind of a win because it wasn't actually going to have a huge release in theaters, and it wound up making $100 million. So at least it made like half of its money back before it hit streaming.
Right. You see a lot on like Twitter and stuff where people will like report on that as if it's like this big dunk, like, oh, this $200 million movie only made half its budget back, but like they don't take into consideration that it is Apple and that it is, you know, wasn't supposed to have this wide release anyway, and so it's a lot of the nuance can get lost in like the headline culture that we're kind of in. Yeah.
Thank you for joining Casteller, Daniel Garcia. The Iron Claw, I believe that's the new A24 film with oh my God, I want to call him High School Musical.
Zac Efron.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, him and Jeremy Allen White are going to be in that. That's on my list. Good. Yeah, that looks like a really like it's and it speaks to A24 and like how prestigious their name is for me. Is like, I'm not a wrestling guy and never have been, but like I'm interested in a good story first and foremost. So like if it just happens to be like wrestling, like I'll still check it out, even though that's not really my thing. So yeah, I mean it just looks like an interesting human story first and foremost, and then the wrestling is like a backdrop. So that's on my list for sure.
That was a great trailer.
Yeah, and that's, you know, they cut a good trailer, and it gets me in. So what I can do, I can read off. I have a list. This was supposed to be for 2023, but a lot of these have been pushed. So it's 2023/2024 now, because we don't know when some of these are coming out with the delays with the writer's strike and all that. So
yeah,
first one being Dune Part 2. Super sad that didn't come out.
Yeah, that was supposed to be this past weekend.
I know. It's very upsetting. Got Poor Things, The Boy and the Heron. That's the Studio Ghibli film.
Yeah.
The Bike Riders, The Killer, which comes out this Friday, right?
This Friday, yeah.
So excited. Priscilla, Napoleon, The Holdovers, Saltburn, Anatomy of a Fall, The Iron Claw, and Maestro, the Bradley Cooper thing. So like those are all really big movies, and it's funny to think about too, because after I've seen all of them, my top 10 could look totally different. Like I could have, you know, a lot like it, I'm excited at the prospect of putting in like some really good movies, you know, to finish out the year.
I know, and I feel like anytime I hear someone that's like, well, this year's, you know, really coming to a close and there's not much coming out, I'm like, there's like 14 or 15 movies that I cannot wait to
I just rattled off 12, and there was even more. Like there's I didn't even mention the Wonka movie,
right,
which may or may not be good. I don't know. I think Ferrari comes out this year.
December.
Zone of Interest, Eileen, that might be 2024. But like, there's a
lot
of things.
Will definitely be out this year, but I think Eileen got pushed. I'm not positive though.
Yeah, so and that's why I kind of had to amend the title of that list to like, these are things that I just want to see whenever they come out. Which who knows when that'll be. So
yes, and that's what because I'm going to see the Marvels this weekend, and I'm not really banking on it being incredible or anything. But at least we have David Fincher's The Killer on Friday, and then next week Saltburn comes out. So I'm really, really excited about that.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm in like this bit of a dry spell right now, but then it's going to start picking up really soon here, and it's going to like not stop. There's basically going to be a movie every week until the end of the year, which is exciting. So yeah, I'm just kind of playing the waiting game as far as Regal goes, like I said. And I was going to say something else too. but go ahead. I'll think of it.
No, that's okay. Matt says his favorite movie is The Usual Suspects. That's a great movie.
Yeah, that was one I watched, and I kind of knew what was happening or what was going to happen prior to seeing it for the first time. So a little bit of like it took a little bit of the wind out of the sails.
Right. The twist.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but it's still super fun and really good performances. That's another Kevin Spacey is like,
I know.
like, yeah, but like, I still love American Beauty. You know, we can't.
We're not going to stop watching movies he's in because it's
exactly. I think it's ridiculous. You know, the movie's already out. I've already spent a large portion of my life enjoying it.
Yeah.
So I can't just like turn that off on a dime.
Oh, exactly. No.
And it's not just him either. There's a lot of people who were in the movie that I really like. So
yeah.
You know, he's just one bad egg doesn't really spoil the whole thing for me.
No. And he is an incredible actor, even if he's done horrible things.
Two things can be true at once.
Right,
you know?
right.
Like,
exactly.
They're not mutually exclusive. So
fans of Something's Pointing Out Before Sunrise, because that's on your letterbox.
Yes.
TJ the Mute, thanks for stopping by. He's pumped that you have Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Yeah, there's a bit of a recurring theme is just like unrequited. Like I love like romance films that don't end in like a happy ending.
Oh, me too.
I love when there's like a gut punch, just leaves you like either sobbing. Did you see Past Lives this year?
I was just going to ask you that.
That's my number one of the year.
Me too.
Yeah, like and I'm not sure if anything will be able to dethrone it just for like the purely visceral effect that it had on me. Like saw it in theaters by myself. I think there was like 3 other ladies like throughout the theater, and I have to imagine we were all just like crying in the theater at the end. It was awesome. It was great. Like that's what I love movies for, is because I left a little differently than I did when I came in. So
yeah, and I always like to tell people it can be relatable in so many different ways. It's not necessary. It doesn't have to be about a what if type of romantic partner or anything. Like there's so many ways to relate to that movie, and it's so brilliant.
Yeah, that's a good point too. It doesn't have to be like a 1-to-1 analog for like my life experience. Like I can relate to just enough to kind of see myself in a character, and that's enough for me to get invested in, you know, the rest of, you know, what happens.
It's crazy. I've had so many guests on recently, and they've all and I didn't plan this, but like everyone's saying that Past Lives is their favorite film of the year, and I completely agree with that. And it's just, it's good that it's being recognized. I really hope that it does well this award season.
I hope it picks up something. I don't know what it would get, if I'm being realistic.
Yeah, it's going to get nominations for sure.
Yeah.
But I just hope people don't forget about it because it did come out over the summer.
Yeah, the name of the husband escapes me. John McGarr.
Oh, yes.
I would love to see him pick up a supporting actor nom, because he really like affected me more so than the 2 leads.
I agree.
Because I really love just like how his character was the whole thing is so well written, but like his character specifically, and it's a bit meta because he points out like, in the story, like I'm the husband who doesn't let you see him or something. And it's
I'm the evil white guy.
Like, yes, thank you for like not doing that. It's like, that's an instant way to make me like, okay, like you lost me, but it's just so real.
You like both of them. You like all of them. You like all 3 people.
You like all of them. And and it's like, why do you have to be so nice? Because like it would be so much easier if I could just like hate you. And I think there's lines like that in the movie. So. Yeah. No, it's brilliant. It's
the dialogue. Yeah, screenplay. I really hope it gets an original screenplay Oscar, or at least a nomination.
That would be good too. If just give it some recognition is all I ask for. Nominations, I don't even need it to win. Just give it some love, because it really deserves it.
I would love to get to respond to everyone in the chat, but the time has come to an end, and I want to thank everyone for being fantastic in the chat. And anything you want to promote, Mark, coming up for Tales of the Shelf?
I don't have anything specific. I sort of like a fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy, and when inspiration strikes, that's when I tend to make a video. So I know that's not a great sales pitch if you were thinking about like subscribing or whatever, but do it or don't if you like. That's all good.
Yeah, no, you should. Yeah, this just cracked me up. Wrestling is not my thing either, but Zac Efron is my thing.
He's one of those actors that I think has a really good performance in him somewhere, and he just needs like the right material, and I think this might be that. So
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Cinematech is under a different name. He was my guest a couple weeks ago, and he has a great channel, and he's just like, by the way, it's TJ from Cinematech, just on my personal.
okay.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. And yeah, Dell, I mean, everyone's popping in right as we're ending, but
What's up, Dell?
Thanks so much, everyone. Again,
definitely catch the replay.
Yeah, catch the replay and check out Mark's channel, Tales from the Shelf. And have fun at the movies this weekend, everyone. And hope your happy hour was just as fun as ours was.
Take it easy.